Captain lovers, it's me, your Captain Vasco speaking. Hopefully you can't hear any of the things in this room, because there are many, and from where I'm sitting, it's very loud. Yeah. Oh, here's like a fun fact about my day. Is my landlady texted me the second I started trying to eat lunch to be like, hey, is your air conditioner leaking? And I'm like, I don't know, you tell me. It is years ago, probably something like 7 years ago, I was on a campaign to try and get her to repair or replace the air conditioner in his room. Cause it's not great. It's pretty loud, but more importantly, it doesn't do that much to cool the room. Once it exceeds once it gets near 80 degrees outside, it kind of starts not working well. I don't know if you know this about Los Angeles. It more than occasionally reaches about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. But out of nowhere, it's just is it leaking in there? I'm like, nah, I know that it's leaking out there. It's done that for many years. And the guys that you sent to look at the air conditioner multiple times insisted that it was totally fine and nothing needed to be done. And nothing has changed. So, you tell me. She's like, I think I'm going to send someone to take a look at that. I'm like, sure. You could finally replace the stupid thing. Now, I know exactly why this is happening. We had, at least one tenant move out, and, relative to the area, we've had a pretty aggressive campaign of trying to, get people to look at the new apartment. So, she must consider the openly leaking wall that is the outside of the air conditioner to be something of, an eyesore, or, something that will give people pause or concern. And, yeah, I mean, literally, I've had neighbors passive-aggressively put, Tupperware under it to stop it from, leaking out into the walkway. But, listen, everyone, I tried. Nothing has changed. People just occasionally suddenly notice it and then take objection to it. Nothing has changed. But, we'll see about that. It will probably mean, someday next week, most likely Monday, being dumber than it needs to be. But maybe it ends up with the air conditioner finally being replaced with something functional that isn't, a really lousy slip and slide. Anyway, I'm not in my best possible mood. It's been a week. Last week I tried to stream this game and I lost internet for 2.5 hours, which is basically the entire duration of the stream. Rather than compete with the lab menu, let's just I don't know, let's just play the game, I guess. Now, the trick is, did I save? I think I deliberately didn't save. So I think what I want is this. I don't remember what save file I want. Okay, let me check the map here. So this is the boat. This is the city. I can go to the precinct. That should be where I'm going next. So this time we played this game for more than 5 minutes. We found some evidence. We got into the cargo hold of the yacht, the Anemone, and we found some plaster skulls filled with diamonds that suggested some sort of smuggling effort. We found the beaten and nearly unconscious body of Captain Mal. Something with an R. No, something with a C. Cruz. Because the pocket watch said MC Hammer on it. It didn't literally, but we all know what it said. Yeah, I think it's Mal Cruz. And so, it was implied that we got him medical attention, and then we, yelled at E. Iron and her brother, Ray, for a while. And then we finally heard a rebroadcast of the spooky radio signal that we'd been waiting for. And the acting captain, Clyde Musselman, was abruptly like, well, there you go, that's the signal you were waiting on. Can I, leave and, disappear into the wind? And, Detective Cross was like, that seems like a horrible idea. And then Honor, our player character, was like, now hear me out. There's literally no reason we should let him go. But, I kind of feel like it, so why not? And so he's gone, and he probably did crimes. Just by nature of the fact that Honor assumes it's okay to let him go, it immediately makes me suspicious of the fact that he did crimes, because she has just terrible instincts for a detective. But so we heard that radio signal, and Scout didn't have the onboard technology to decode it, but Detective Cross made some weird insinuation that, like, yeah, there's just like a thing that does that at the police station. Why don't you go there and I'll stand ineffectually on this boat? So that's what we're gonna do. Ross said there should be some decoding equipment around here somewhere. Beep, 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 beep. And, yeah, I think I got, like, one line to this puzzle and lost internet last week, so let's hope that doesn't happen again. I said to myself I was going to jump right into the game and not risk that happening again, but, I clearly have dillied my dally. Which, like, isn't nearly as gross as it sounds. Probably. Who knows? Anyway, there's a couple rows here that I remember looking at that have a big number and a small number. Let's just manually just count that out real quick. So, like, that would be 12. But if we count the leftmost extreme, then we'd have to put a 1 space, and then the earliest we could count is here. So, like, that's our amount of variance there. And it's probably, like, 2 spaces of variance on this one, because it's a smaller group and all that. So it'd be like space, 1, 2, so yeah. Because there's 2 places to the right it could start, then you have to take away 2 certain places that could be on the left. Thanks for watching, Demolition, and thank you for modding, always. And I was like, this is exactly as far as I got, I think. No, that's not true. I do remember I noticed that, like, this column has only groups of 1, so, like, those should all be separated. And then I think I started looking at some of these other ones that have lots of groups of 1, like, in the middle of them, and figured out a couple of them, but those I don't remember as clearly. I don't think I can do anything with this column, although I imagine I probably don't need very much to start making pretty broad conclusions about where stuff goes here. Got, like, a 1, 2, 1, 1. I mean, realistically speaking, like, this could be 1. This could be, like, 2. Yeah, like, there's just, like, not enough going on here to draw any conclusions about this, despite a relatively large number of 1s. I think it's, like, these 1s that have lots of groups in them. That work that way. So, if we give this the most amount of leeway possible, and we were to consider that, like, this that we already have a space filled in for could possibly be our top group of 2, the only one in this column that's more than a group of 1, then we would need, we like, can't fit another group here, no matter what, because it would, like, blend into this and become a group of 2. So, like, the most we could do is, like, 1, 2, 3. And that's just, so we need a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups below the 2. And at most we could do 4. So that tells us that there's no way that this could be our group of 2. And as a result, every individual space we have filled in below that point has to be a group of 1 with blanks on either side. Can we do the same thing here? So if we were to assume, like, the highest possible position for the 2, and, like, there was a 1, like, anywhere up here at all, then we would need, so it'd have to be, again, we're in a position where we can't put a group of 1 between it, because everything's just too close together. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, and then, like, we would just barely not have enough to put that last group of 2 at the bottom. And, like, even if we, like, regardless of how we arrange this 2, like, there's no way that the rest of this would work out to fit. So, that similarly tells us that these have to be middle groups of 1. Don't know the exact position of the 2 that's above or below. Actually, maybe that's not true. Because above this point, we have to fit 2 groups. And there are 2 and a 1 in order. So that should actually tell us exactly where those go. Because out of those 4 spaces, all of them have to be filled in a specific way. It's kind of just got to be like that. Down here, however, we have like 5 spaces. And that is technically too much. I think technically we know overlap, right? Out of that many? Because it could be like this. Or it could be like start here. And then like those 2. But like either way, this has to be filled in as part of the group of 2. There's just like too much space at the top and bottom to do much with this. I think the groups in this column are too small to draw any real conclusion. One thing I want to take a look at is this group here, this 181. It's a relatively large group in the middle of that. Can I do anything with it? It's gonna seem like a weird way to do this, but I just want to keep this separate from the rest of it as I count this out, and my brain is not warmed up to this concept yet. So the leftmost version of this row looks like 6, 7, 8, and the rightmost version looks like 1, 2, 3, and then the rest would have to be the same. So like that all looks. This seems sound. Feel like this space should be able to like tell me more about this column than I think I'm smart enough to know. So we have 3 groups present, right? Which means that one of these groups has to either be the top or the bottom. Well, hang on. So, we know that the groups in the middle of this column have to be groups of 1. So this one that's between the 2 others, there's no chance it's one of the ends, and thus a group of 2. I think in theory this could go, like, this could be a group of 2, or I could fit a group of 2 up here. So I don't know that I know more than that just yet. Yeah, I feel like I should be able to get more from this than I've deduced here. However, I'm not sure if that's actually true. It says, friend's relative passed this week, went to the wake, couldn't go to the funeral to be a pallbearer due to work at the same time. That's rough. Sorry that worked out that way, Demolition. Especially since you found yourself in a position at the end of the week where there was no work and they gave you like a pointless meeting to pat themselves on the back for doing nothing. See, they got a puzzle game on sale. Who does? The Mediatonic? Like the people who made this game? Also, hi Count Zacula, how's it going? It's good to see you. As always. How's things? Oh, check it out. I filled in a space in another one of these columns that has only groups of 1. That's fun. I like when that happens. I haven't done that over here. That didn't happen. Okay, hang on a second. Oh, just like a general puzzle game sale? No, I didn't see that. No. So check this out. Check this column out, right? So like here, I have like 2 spaces that I've deemed are filled in. And they're separated by just 1 gap. There's no groups of 3 here, which means that there's no chance that this is filled in. So, like... It's possible that this is 1 and this is 2. Yeah, because the groups of one aren't in the middle, I don't quite get the same ability to deduce this. Because, like, it would still be possible for there to be a 1 up here, and then this be a group of 2. Or, like, this could be 1, this could be 2, and then there would be, like, groups of 1 below that. So I think this is as much as I get. One thing this does tell me is that neither one of these spaces on either side of that thing I just blanked can be part of any of the filled-in groups, because there's only groups of 2 here. Which does, like, narrow this row down quite a lot at this point. I don't know what to do about it. Yeah, these puzzles have some big no-no energy. These are no-no grams. I think I'm currently in the running for, like, least interesting Twitch content for just, like, narrating the logical process of trying to solve nonogram puzzles, but, like, at this point, like, I'm really dedicated to finishing the game after spending... I don't want to do the math on how many hours I've been playing this. I really don't. I could relatively easily. Prize is a prize. That's so true. I'll tell you what. Hey, Evil Pixie, welcome to the stream. I'll tell you what. Like, this is a week that has not been going in my favor, as I was complaining about earlier. Today, like, right at the end of work, I think, or like right after work, sometime when I was, like, basically done for the day, I saw on Twitter that the Pokemon Center had stocked the latest Pokemon Squishmallows. And I had sort of been in the camp, like, I don't know that I need, like, Togepi or Snorlax or whatever. But, like, I saw that, and I went and checked, and, like, Togepi was still in stock when I checked, and I was like, I'm just gonna buy it. That's my win for the day. I got it while it was in stock. Go me. I have no space for these things. I just keep buying them. It's a genuine problem. Did I hear about Bam Margera? No. What? Tell me, Zacula, of the news of Bam Margera. Oh, no, wait. Maybe I did hear something about this. I heard some weird story earlier this week about a celebrity who I don't know that much about, who, like, got in a fight with their family and then, like, fled from the police or something weird. Is that the one? There's a lot of ones here. Look at all these ones that I just... There's too many of them. Nah, 13's not enough when all the groups are one. That's definitely not it. Super drunk threatened some people, got in a fight, scurried off into the woods before becoming Pennsylvania's new cryptid. That sounds very probable. I know you're reporting, like, a factual, like, thing that happened, but, like, Bam Margera becoming Pennsylvania's newest cryptid, like, that just sounds like a thing that was, like, reasonably likely to happen always. Ooh, 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 ooh. Headache with pictures. Check this out. Check it out, fam. Top group for this column is 4. Now that I've blocked off this space with that thing I was doing like 20 minutes ago before I started talking about Squishmallows cryptids, I now know that this can't be part of the top group before no matter what. So what I then know by extension is there's only one place that group of 4 can go. Which also makes this the next group of 1 closed off by itself. And then there's no way to fit another group of 1 between this one and this filled-in space, so that has to be my next group, which is also just 1 by itself. And then, having filled in some extra X's from sorting that out, I know the exact location of the whole column. We did. We also should be able to use the overload principle to determine... Like, this has to be part of the leftmost group of 5, because it's less than 5 spaces away from the edge. So... Oh no, I guess this is our 5th space. So I guess I don't actually get to fill anything. Now you're gonna need to purchase a Pokemon Squish. I know, it's like a slippery slope. Because, like, a week ago I had none. And now I have this Pikachu. And at whatever point the Pokemon Center ships me Togepi, I will have 2 all of a sudden. It's a real problem for me. I'm working on this. I'm not making any progress though. It's like this is the entire time that story was happening. All I could think was, "Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville, and this is Bam's Manhunt." I feel like that's coming too, right? Hey, Sniper Justin. Glad you finally made it. How's it going? How was Friday? Still haven't placed any of the groups of 2. I mean, honestly, like, if I could, like, blank out one remaining space in this row, I would mostly know what was going on here. Any other, like, weird anomalies I could take advantage of anywhere? Row of 1? That's not it. Yeah, this one's gonna be tough, I think. I think I'm doing pretty well at it, but, like, this is just gonna be tough. There's, like, a lot of variation between things that, like, have lots of small groups, and thus are hard to place without context, and then, like, just, like, very small things that could basically go anywhere. Secula says, what really is space at the end of the day? I don't know, ask a physicist. But in the meantime, get as many plushies as you want. That's true. It is true. Okay, hang on. I got something. So if we look at this column here, 33112, I have a space filled in up here. It's less than, it's like exactly 3 away from the edge, so there's no way I could fit another group of 3 above it. But I also have an endpoint here, so I know this has to be part of my top group of 3. And I know its exact location because I know where it ends, basically. Then down here, this, counting from the edge, is obviously our next group down, which is just 1. And then much like this other row I was looking at before, I can't fit 1 here. It would just make a group of 2. It defies physics. So we get to count all that down. Now, I don't have a big, fancy group of 5 at the bottom here, so I don't know exactly where that group of 2 goes. But, you know, it's like 2/3 of that row done. We also now know that because this isn't viable, this can't be part of the single group of 2 I'm missing for the row. Does that tell me anything about anything? No, not yet. Nope. It's good you can finally not work for once this weekend. That sounds great. I'm really excited for you, Justin. I hope that you get some good downtime and find something amazing to do. I might personally recommend, if you haven't already, watching Better Call Saul. Because it finally landed on Netflix, which I've been waiting for like a full year, I think. So I don't have, like, AMC. Or, like, AMC Plus or whatever absurd thing you need to, like, watch it from, like, initial release. So I had to wait for it to hit Netflix. And so I've been watching a lot of it this week, and, like, honestly, like, I have loved that show pretty consistently. I'm like, not a huge Breaking Bad fan. I love Better Call Saul. And, like, I honestly didn't think it would be possible to stick the landing, like, with some of the highs of the previous seasons, but, like, holy crap, it's just so good. It's just so consistently good, my god. It's genuinely unrealistic. Did I see El Camino? No, I have not. Not sure I know what that is. I probably did at some point, but I don't currently. Oh, hang on. This row has only 1s in. Does that do anything for me? Probably not. I think probably not. Not enough information there. How many do we have here? This is 6? It's interesting. 1, 2, 2, 1. Yeah, groups of 1 are going to be really hard. It's just, there's like all these like columns that have all these 1s in them. It becomes more common as the game goes on, and I get it, it makes the puzzle harder, but like sometimes I just get mad about it. Now hang on a second. This row here has no groups that are bigger than 2, so this space can't be filled in because it makes a group of 3. Does that help me to narrow anything down? Really? Because, like, I need a 1 and a 1. So there's no way... Huh. There's no way for this to be part of a group of 2. So... what that means is... that everything from this point left has to be before a group of 2. So it has to be its own thing, blocked off like that. But then that should also necessarily mean that this is a filled-in group of 2. I think. I think that's true. And if that is true, that tells us like a bunch of stuff, actually. So this has to be filled in to make the top group of 2 for the row, or the column, rather. Then this space has to be blank to separate it from that shenanigans. And then there's no group bigger than 3 here, so this has to be 2. And then, yeah, now there's no way to fit a group of 2 above this point, so this has to be my topmost group of 2 for this column, so this is blank. And then, because I now know that this is 2 and not 1, that also makes this a group of 1. Which doesn't really, like, do anything. El Camino was a movie they did resolving Jesse's story after the end of Breaking Bad. Oh, yeah! I totally forgot they did that. I just, like, I remember, like, talk of that, like, after Breaking Bad ended, and just, like, completely forgot it existed, or even that it ever got released. What's my last plot point? I finished the third to last episode, which ends with... I mean, it's just pretty much a spoiler to say that. Saul is in black and white and is about to make a pretty bad decision, I think. Maybe I'll have to see if I can find El Camino. I'll admit that, like, Jesse's not my favorite. Like, again, like, I was reflecting a little bit on Breaking Bad, watching through this last season of Better Call Saul. Should you go away? No, there's no spoilers. I mean, like, if you've literally seen one episode, if you've seen, like, the first episode of Better Call Saul, you know that some scenes are in black and white. That's the only thing that got spoiled. And it's, like, the very beginning, I think, of the first episode has that in it. So, like, you're good. I'm not gonna spoil anything, I promise. Also, hi, Letters. Hey, how's it going? Game spoilers. Oh, game spoilers? I mean, I think Letters knows that I'm reasonably far in the game, and while she's playing through it, also, like, the puzzles are kind of independent of that. One thing I feel like I need to be doing more while playing this game is, like, stopping near the end of the puzzle to see if I can figure out what I'm looking at. And I know that I'm inherently biased by the fact that, like, this thought occurs to me while editing these episodes to post onto YouTube. And then, like, I'm, like, watching myself do it and seeing, like, oh, no, like, clearly it looks like a skull or whatever. Yeah, generally, if I'm in a puzzle, you're safe. If I'm finishing a puzzle, you could go get a snack or something. Yeah, honestly, I don't think I can spoil anything beyond the thing I'm doing, because this is a first playthrough for me. Reminder, look at the puzzle right before the end. I mean, frankly, Zacula, you joke, but, like, a good amount of the time you won't actually guess what it is, even when it's done. But, like, what I'm saying is, like, there's a point where, like, I'm struggling to piece together the end of it, where, like, feasibly, I could sort of be like, oh, it should probably, like, finish this pattern or something. And, like, it's not a good basis to solve the puzzle, but I think it's still, like, an interesting thought exercise. Okay, Vasco, top 3 snacks. Demolition, you know I'm gonna be a terrible source for that. you know that's a bad... I'm just gonna be like, donuts, and, like, just a whole stick of butter. Like, I don't, like... Like, I'm just gonna say garbage, because I only eat garbage. He says, I tried watching Breaking Bad once. Got as far as an episode with a fly in the lab and quit. That's a little interesting, because most people I know think The Fly is, like, the best episode. And, like, I like it. I think it's overhyped, but, like, I just generally think that about the show at large. I agree with you, Letters, that, like... So, like, I think that it is possible to, like, make a show about, like, a reasonable person's descent into being a villain and have it be interesting, even though the person you're, like, rooting for is a bad guy. Personally, I don't think that Breaking Bad, like, nails it. Because, like, honestly, I think that, like, Walter White just, like, is way too eager to be, like, a criminal mastermind. So, like, I don't, like, relate to it. Like... And I know, like, that's very subjective and your mileage will vary. But, like, I just... Like, I think to me, like, that's, like, a big issue. There's, like, a few moments in, like, the middle of the series where I feel like there's some visible struggle for his humanity. And, like, I think that's kind of the thing that's, like, interesting in theory. But, like, in my experience, it kind of just turns out that they just wanted him to be, like, a bad guy. And so he just was. And they didn't spend a lot of time, like, motivating it, right? Yeah, I think that's a reasonable observation, Letters. For a bottle-style episode like that, it crystallizes your opinion of the characters. Because, like, that's generally what a bottle episode does, is it, like, deconstructs the story so it's focused mostly on character. So, like, if you don't like the character, it will be more apparent to you in that situation. Like, that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, once I got that... Like, I do actually think that's a good episode, personally. I like that argument. But, like, definitely by that point in the series, I was like, I will watch this because I want to know how this ends. And I didn't particularly like the end. Yeah, Community was really good at bottle episodes. Despite, like, sometimes losing its way on, like, the big picture. Like, the characters were pretty well defined, even though some of them sort of got hyper-realistic at the end. But, like, just consistently throughout the show, those episodes are great. And yeah, I agree, Demolition. Generally speaking, bottle episodes are, and probably should be, like, the best episodes of a TV show. Yeah, Britt is a great example of a character who, like, I don't know exactly what happened there. So, like, here's... Okay, hold on. Let's think about this row for a second, right? Let's actually do a little bit of puzzle. I could do TV talk all day, but let's do a little bit of puzzle, because ostensibly I'm here for that. So, this here is... We already got two spaces right next to each other, right? There's only one group of one anywhere in this row. So, like, there's no chance that this is blanked out, because if that was true, it would mean that, like, my leftmost group isn't one, but I have a group of one in the middle, and that's just not what the row looks like, right? So, like, we have an endpoint here. It's basically required for this space to be filled in. Which seems to track. Like, that should make it so... I'll address the column in a second, but just at a glance, it looks like that works for the column as well. But so, like, then, keeping that in mind, the question sort of becomes, like, okay, is this my group of 3 or my group of 4? Because those are my only two options, right? So, like, if this was to be my group of 2, right? Then, like, this would have to be my group of 4, and then, like, I need a group of 3 and another group of 1. Like, that's obviously not possible. So what that tells me is that, like, this is my group of 3, this is the start of my group of 4, which goes out to here, and now I still need a group of 2 at the end, and that can only go in those two spaces. So all of a sudden I have, like, 2/3 of a row done because I figured out that this has to be filled in. And now we look at the column. I need a group of 1 above that 2 I just filled in. So it looks like that. And then Apparently that is the last space filled in for the entire column. So now that's done too. That's great. That tells... Well, first let's go up here. I finished this group of 2. The game tells me that, this is the group of 2 I already finished, and it's in the middle. And that, like, whatever is left of it should be a group of 2. I'm just gonna trust the game on that. I should reason it out for myself, but I'm just not gonna do it. Yeah, right? That was a really nice row and column. That was good. That felt good. But now, if we look at this bottom row, we already sort of figured out that this space has to be part of the leftmost group of 5, and now we know it can't go any further to the right. So, like, now we know that exact position. And then that lets us count up from the bottom using the wall principle. So, like, that's my bottom group of 2 there, bottom group of 1, bottom group of 2, bottom group of 1. And now I've got, like, a capital E that fell over and hyperextended its leg or something. Catch up a little bit on TV talk. Have you seen every episode of Doctor Who ever made? I've seen way closer to every episode of Doctor Who ever made than you would probably guess. I have a friend who, like, has, like, the DVD physical release of, like, every old Doctor Who episode that is, like, recoverable. And I have watched most of those. Now, I will admit that, like, after the transition to Capaldi, I kind of just stopped watching. For various reasons. Yeah, definitely that E fell down and can't get up. But yeah, I know, aren't they making some big change to Doctor Who? Where, like, they're switching showrunners again or something? I saw some, like, really abstract comment about that. Demolition says, thinking of picking up Paramount Plus to watch all the missing Star Trek I need to catch up on. Only up to all of Deep Space Nine. So you did finish Deep Space Nine? That's probably good. It's tough, man. It makes me sad for various reasons that Paramount is going so all in on Star Trek. Not the least of which being that I think on the whole they've still done largely a really bad job of handling Star Trek as an intellectual property. Like, that's definitely a factor. But, like, also because, like, you used to be able to just, like, watch all the Star Trek on Netflix. And, like, now you have to go behind the paywall on Paramount Plus. Capaldi is great as the Doctor, but wasn't given great material. You know, based on the few episodes I've seen of Capaldi, I totally believe that. It's just, like, the stuff I saw, like, I don't know. Just, like, there's so many, like, weird emotional factors to, like, watching Doctor Who for me. And, like, it's such a long, personal, uninteresting story, but it's just, like, there were things that the show would have had to overcome for me to keep watching it, and, like, Capaldi didn't do it, so... So, much like the spine of this E that fell down, this row over here now finds itself in the same position. We're, like, all boxed in. I need a group of 5 at the left, so, like, it's gonna have to look like this. This column has only groups of 1 in it, so, like, that's fun. This is a 2. I don't know which way that goes yet. Oh, yeah, I mean, I think we may be fewer than 10 years off from the concept of, like, it's just cable again. But, like, you just spread it over everything. I've been trying to, like, streamline stuff. Like, oh, that actually reminds me. I need to cancel the service. Like a month ago, like, I had, like, an antenna TiVo, because I used to be a big TiVo fanatic, and that company has just, like, really gotten, like, a lot worse over time. But, like, I wanted to get some of the network channels, and I have to pay for, like, adless Hulu or something for my sanity. But, like, a relatively new TiVo unit I got, like, already died. Just, like, fully died. Like, a component burned out that, like, would facilitate... Like, I'd have to replace the whole thing. I'd have to just buy a whole new unit, basically. Even to repair it. And so, like... Yeah, I could replace that for, like, at least a couple $100 or something. Or I could just stop paying $6 a month, you know? It's just dumb. There's a lot of bad trends in streaming, like Netflix trying to, like, crack down on, like, password sharing. Like, that feels like that is not the road they want to go down. I understand why they think it is. I genuinely believe that it is not the thing they want to do. Zagula says, streaming services will end up with him calling for the overthrow of capitalism. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, not even joking, I feel like the ballooning nature of streaming services in this era, like, are going to radicalize people. Like, that sounds, like, absurdly hyperbolic, but, like, I totally believe that's true. Like, it is exactly the type of thing that makes the average person aware of how bad capitalism has gotten. So, like, those companies continuing to try to push those borders, I think, is gonna, like, hit a breaking point. Letter says that she literally has Netflix so her parents can watch it. And I literally have Netflix because my parents let me mooch off their account. You and I are not the same, because I am the most useless sibling in my family. I've actually heard a lot of good things about Shudder. I'm not close to trying it because I'm not, like, a huge horror buff and I don't need another service, but, like, I do hear really good things about it. I was, like, close to onto something, wasn't I? Nah, probably not. That doesn't sound like me. Oh, no, hang on, I found it again. So, okay, let's take a look at this column real quick. So, I basically can't fill this in, because if I fill this space in, it makes a group of 3 toward the bottom. That's not here. I need a group of 5 at the top. That's the only thing bigger than 2. So, like, this space has to be blank. I still need a group of 2 down here, so this one's got to be filled in, and then this one's got to be blank. Now, we got 7 spaces here, and 5 of them need to be filled in. So I know that the 3 in the middle, those have to be filled in for sure no matter what. So that apparently finishes this row. It also tells me where one of the groups of 2 for this row is. I think that's what I get off that for the moment, but that's decent. Hang on a second. How many groups of 1 does this column need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 total. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. At a glance, I thought I might have 3, and then I could just fill in both the ones that are left. But nah, not so much. Oh, you're watching Dark Now Demolition? I have really mixed feelings about that I've definitely talked about some amount. Show gets real weird. It had, like, I would say that, like, I feel kind of similarly about Dark that I do to Breaking Bad. Where, like, I feel like both of those shows have, like, incredible acting talent and incredible production values and questionable story quality. Well, let's not forget that this column has only groups of 1 in it, so that helps a little bit. So hang on, doesn't that mean 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? No, I guess not. I guess it is technically possible for this not to be part of the group of 8, although I would bet you that, like, this is filled in and this is filled in probably. Probably. Hey, Angel, thank you for the 48-month resub, and welcome to the stream. Whether lurking or not, I hope you're doing alright. Haha, oh. So check this out. This space right here, I should have noticed a while ago. It has to be part of my topmost group of 4 because it's just too close to the top here. But I also know from the overload principle that even if it runs all the way to the top, it's got to count to this space. Now, I'm pretty sure there's no way that it's physically possible for this not to be part of the 8. And the reason for that is... well, actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, I guess weirdly enough, that technically could be... it is... both of these permutations are possible given the information I have, which is really annoying to look at. Well, thank you for gifting a sub to Zacula, Angel. Here, have some sound effects. Have some sound and visual effects. One of these days I'll rig this up so that these don't use chat. I'm just so lazy. I hope 1899 gets a second season. That's on my to-do list. My mom recommended it pretty highly. If I remember correctly, 1899 is the one my mom equated to watching a TV show based on an adventure game. Which obviously is just like cheat code for make me care about it. Yeah, Netflix and 1 seasons, yeah. Netflix constantly makes me feel like I'm taking crazy pills. 'Cause, like, they've reached this weird point where, like, they're willing to try any, like, absurd, like, min-max capitalist strategy to try and maximize their profits, instead of just, like, actually making a good product. Like, they went so deep into debt to fire a shotgun of content at people, and then, like, just not put their faith or money behind any of it. They just, like, made all this stuff, and then just canceled all of it. And then they created for themselves this reputation that, like, they will not make multiple seasons of something unless it's some unbelievable runaway success. And, like, yeah, that's a brand, but, like, it's obviously a pretty self-destructive strategy. Like, you have to realize that. And now they're all like, oh, well, we're gonna crack down on, like, password sharing and, like, all this absurd stuff. It's like, just, like, do good. Just, like, try to do good. Yeah, right? And, like, yeah, I saw that, no, like, Big Mouth is, like, literally on season 8. Or, like, they have, like, an 8th and final season confirmed, I saw somewhere this week. And I know, like, one person who swears by it, but, like, every clip I've ever seen of it makes me like, nah, I feel like I'd rather never watch TV again than watch Big Mouth one time. I feel pretty strongly about that based on very little evidence. Letter says, I watched Love is Blind, but I fast forward through a lot of it. I think that's the only way you can maintain your sanity. Like, I didn't even watch this last season of Love is Blind. The previous ones were, like, really starting to make me upset. It's, like, really veering down the same road that Married at First Sight did, where it's like, there is an interesting, like, social experiment idea here, and instead of that, we've taken the trashiest reality TV route possible and have made peace with sabotaging the lives of innocent people. How many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Sure are close to finishing that group, huh? Actually, I guess at this point we know, like, this space has to be filled in, right? Because there's no way that a group of 1 can be anywhere else that remains on the row. And I know that this has to be the missing group of 2, so this has to be by itself. I don't know where the other group of 1 is, but that should all be correct. No, close, but I can't finish this yet. Watch Singles Inferno or Terrace House. I don't think I've heard of either of those. What are those also on Netflix? Where would I watch that? It says trashy people got put in their place this season. That's good. I'm reassured some amount by that. There was this like really horrible guy that they got on one of the last seasons of Married at First Sight that I was watching. And like not only did like the guy not get what was coming to him, but like the producers like gaslit the woman that he married into like giving him like multiple chances after it became clear that he was just like a dangerously unstable person. And it was like, that is not even a little good. Those shows are on Netflix. Japanese and Korean. Oh, Japanese and Korean reality TV. Interesting. interested in that. I've heard of Physical 100. I haven't watched that one either. I don't know. I should ask Vasco, you get a blank check to make a TV show of your dreams. Would it be made? Well, like, that's a tricky question. Are you saying I have, like, limitless funding to make my own TV show? If so, it's Rex Danger. It's just my own thing. It's my show that I have, like, a really clear idea of what the characters are and a broad idea of what the story arc is, and it's like it's this, like, futuristic world it's a futuristic non-space alien world where humans have colonized some section of the galaxy after trashing and then, like, sort of recovering the Earth, and it's very much a commentary on capitalism and the internet. Zacchaeus says, the TV show of my dreams is another few seasons of Farscape. Farscape had a pretty good run, though. How many seasons was that? I haven't watched it in ages. Something made me think of it recently. I feel like I can only remember specific elements of, like, a few episodes, mostly from, like, really early on. But, like, I remember really liking that show when it came out. Oh my god, I can't explain to you how much I don't want to, like, produce a TV show. I, like, did some of that stuff in college, and it, like, activates, like, all the worst parts of my brain. Like, it is a thing that I'm physically capable of, but, like, would be horrible for me as a person. Like, I would self-destruct. 4 seasons in the miniseries. I thought, was it a miniseries? I thought it was just, like, no, maybe it was, like, multiple, like, 2-hour things. Maybe that is a miniseries. I remember the, like, after-the-fact thing. The, like, Peacekeeper Wars or whatever. And I remember watching it and remember very little of it. 2. Oh, whoa. Check out this. Hey, everyone. Check out this sweet column I got right here. There's only 3 groups in this column. Only 2 of them are close enough together that they might band into one group. But, and here's the important part. They can't work this way, because that makes a group of 4. So what that tells me is that this has to be its own group of 1, and this has to be its own group of 1, and then this, none of this is filled in. And now I know that 3 of these 4 spaces have to be filled in, and it's very likely it's this one, but I don't know that for sure. Says, for people looking for a short and fun sitcom, highly recommend The Good Place. I mean, The Good Place is, like, an all-time great television show. You do have to be aware that it does get a little heavy. Mostly at, like, the very end, and it builds to it appropriately. It doesn't, like, come out of nowhere, but, like, it, because of its sort of philosophical nature, it can definitely be heavy. So it's not, like, the lightest sitcom of all time, but, like, it is an incredible show for sure. No, for sure, Demolition. Like, The Good Place is, like, another example, like I was talking about with Better Call Saul before, where we approached the end of that show, I'm like, there's no feasible way you can make the end of this show, like, meaningful and good. Like, compared to the rest of the show, like, there's just no way you can do that. And then, like, watching that last episode, I was like, I literally don't understand how you can take the broad idea of, like, the difficulty of morality and existence and make, like, a perfect encapsulation of it as a television show in, like, an hour. Like, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how they did it, and it got done. Like, I don't understand. Bull Pixie asks, how do people feel about Lost? I feel like I need to name this category. I watched and really liked Lost when it came out, and I even, like, did a rewatch recently, because, like, someone at my work was like, we should all watch Lost and talk about it like it was back in the day. But, like, I mean, it definitely changed television and is, like, one of the most formative television shows of all time, both for better and for worse. On the whole, like, especially in hindsight, I'm inclined to say that, like, it had a lot of things going well, but the fact that they not only didn't, but weren't allowed to plan for, like, a final story arc until, like, well into the show's run really hampered its ability to be, like, a single cohesive thing, in my opinion. Like, if you take every episode as its own thing, which is, like, how it was when it originally aired, and in, like, the pre-streaming era and all that, like, it's really well done. The acting is great. Most of the characters are really good. There's some, like, really effectively done, like, symbolism and foreshadowing and stuff, the likes you don't normally see on TV shows. There's, like, a richness to, like, how weird everything is. Like, there's a lot that it does well. I don't like the ending, and the ending was really important to that whole package, like, standing the test of time, in my opinion. And I won't go into it, because that's obviously spoilers, but I will simply say it's not what I wanted it to be. Okay, so, bear with me a second here. Can I take the game's word at this? So I filled this in as overlap for that group of 3 I was looking at a moment ago. According to the game... Well, I mean, I think I already worked this out, right? That, like, this had to be a 1 by itself because, like, this had to be a 2... Or... No, this had to be filled in as a group of 2 because I couldn't fit, like, a group of 2 to the left of it. So, like, yeah, I know that there's a 1 over here. Yeah, no, that is all correct. So what I know is, this has to be a group of 2. Somewhere over here, a space is filled in. But what's important about that is that it also tells me that if I look at this, like, this has to be blank. Because if I filled it in, it would be a group of 5. And to reinforce that further, if you look at the row, you get the same information. Because the only thing I'm missing is a group of 2, and that can't fit in this one space. So that group of 4 has to start up here. And then also, this should be filled in to finish this row, since everything else is now rooted out. So does this all have to be part of the group of 6 up here? Is that how this works? Oh, real quick, by the wall principle, I have the space filled in. It reaches all the way to the edge, so I know it's the next group down, which is 1. And now 6 of 9 spaces need to be filled in? No. 6 of 8 spaces. So, yeah, I get overlap of 4, and then it's those 2 or those 2. That should be right. That apparently finishes this row. This row has only groups of 1. Deal with the rest of that later, maybe, or forget and never solve it. Still don't have this 12 down. Okay, so this 6. So, I mean, like... Yeah, I mean, this all has to be part of the top group of 6. So that tells me, like, this should be filled in. So, this space being filled in means that it has to be the rightmost group of 1 for the row, because, like, I can't fit 1 over here, just make a group of 2, make a big blobby mess. But that does also tell me that there can no longer be a gap there. And that apparently finishes the row out, because that was the last space needed on the 8. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that tracks. That makes sense. But that also means this is done. 2, 2, 1, 2. That's the only way to finish the row on the right side there. So that should be correct. And then if this top space is filled in, then it has to be the top 6 spaces that make that group. And then for the column on the right, we start with 2 groups of 1, and then the next group down is 4. 2, 2, 4. So got a 2 down there somewhere. Oh, and because this is filled in on the right, we get to count that over as the sole group of 2 for that row. Was this done now? Hang on. 5, 10, 12. Yeah, that's done. And because that's blocked off there, that also means the group of 5 has to count up there, which closes off both of those top rows. And also this space, which then means this... No. I already have one space filled in. Never mind. I thought I was still looking for that for some reason. As Nicholas said, loss is one of those things that was a moment in time. I feel like if you weren't in it when it was happening, you missed it, period. Not worth going back to it. I feel not quite as strongly as that, but I think I generally agree with that sentiment. Is like, you will never be able to fully understand what Lost was by simply watching Lost now. Like, there's just, like, a meta element that cannot be recaptured. So, Wall Principle says this one space I have filled in has to be the group of 1 missing from this column. Oh, weird. Wait, hang on a second. So, I need to be able to separate the group of 11 and the group of 1 in this row? I think there's only 2 ways to do that now, but because the 11 has to be on the left, doesn't that mean that this should be filled in, and then this has to be blank and the rest is the 11? Yeah, that's the only way that works now. So then this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, nope, 6. So that finishes that. That also completes this column. So I have both my groups of 1 now. And looking at this column, this top one should be its own group, and that should be filled in. The meta element? Is that a new type of Pokemon? Nah. I'm hoping that the Pokemon Company has just understood that I still can't understand fairy typing because it's really unintuitive to me, and so we're still not ready as a society to add a new Pokemon type. But also, welcome, Alcadius. How's it going? Oh dear. Okay, hang on. I think I got something. I was really lost for a second, but I got something. Oh, actually, I got a couple somethings. So the 2 rightmost groups for this row are 2 groups of 1, right? And this is one of them. So, like... I guess there's 2 possibilities here. I guess it could basically be literally this, or there could be 2 of these 4 spaces filled in and 1 over here. But luckily I have a better lead, which is this. The rightmost group in this bottom row is 2. And I have, the next group to the left of it fills up everything but these 2 spaces. So, like, that has to be where that goes. Which also blanks out the rest of the row. Now, this is the moment in time where I want to be like, let's stop and take a look at the big picture and see what it's supposed to be. What do you think? I'm guessing it's supposed to be something akin to like a laptop with some device attached to it, and that Scout is gonna emit the signal into like a modem or something, and then it's gonna decode it. No, that's a great point, Letters. Dragon was not intuitive either, but it's been around long enough that you kind of get it. Like, it's definitely not clear to me, even now, why Dragon hates ice, but it's just internalized now. It's like, yeah, Dragon good against Dragon, so it is its own weakness, and also ice. And, like, in fairness, the Fairy-Dragon relationship, that's easy enough, because, like, clearly part of the reason they made Fairy was to balance Dragon, because they'd so obviously overpowered it for so long. So you just remember that, like, Fairy is immune to Dragon as opposed to resisting it. And then also is good against Dragon. But, like, I don't know, I have a really hard time... Like, I remember what some of the relationships are, but not whether they're good or bad. Like, I think Poison is good against Fairy, but Fairy is good against fighting. And I couldn't explain to you why either of those things are true. I always remember that Steel is good against Fairy because, like, I think it's supposed to evoke the fact that in, like, folklore, fairies are usually, like, weak to iron. Like, they're easily bound by it and it, like, drains their magic powers or whatever. So we have this group of 2 I filled in. I get to count up groups from the bottom. Oh, not 3, but 2. So that finishes right column. And out of these 3 spaces, apparently 2 need to be filled in. I hate the stupid row with all its 1s. Really punching a Fairy is the best way to deal with one. I don't think that's true. I think Fairy is good against fighting. I think it's that Fairy is good against fighting and Poison is good against Fairy. And I don't remember if there's anything else. 1212. Be anywhere. How do I have, like, no useful information about this row at all? Oh, hang on. I guess I know that this is my rightmost group of 1. That tracks. Which then, I guess, makes this filled in. So then, yeah. Somewhere in here, 2 spaces are filled in. Actually... 2. No, it could be like that. I was trying to look at these groups and be like, yeah, it's like probably the case that it's this. But I think it could also technically be like this. Those both seem plausible. I don't really know what to make of either of those shapes, though. Never claimed to be a Pokemon expert. Quite the opposite. Exactly. You ever see that... I want to say it was like a Tumblr account where, like, some person who'd, like, never seen a Pokemon before got people to, like, tweet them descriptions of various Pokemon, and then they drew them without any visual reference. You might appreciate that. It was generally pretty funny. I don't know if they're still doing that, to be honest. Oh, we've apparently narrowed this road down so that only this group of 2 remains, so I guess this is now... nothing. Which then also tells me, because out of these 3 spaces I still need a group of 2, like this has to be something. So then this has to be blank because the row has only groups of 1. Oh, and I guess all these things being true, I can use the wall principle to count that up. That's a group of 2. So then this has to be filled in. So that finishes that column. And because that's filled in, I now know that this is also filled in, and this is blank, so that's where the bottom 2 goes. And apparently, this column has only groups of 1 left. So, like, that looks like that. Which then means... this? But not... no, this also. This also? Sure. And then I guess just all the remaining spaces filled. It's a Super Nintendo controller attached to a point-of-sale machine, a cash register. No, it's the police decoder. Emotion says another similar one is someone tells their mom descriptions about Pokemon and she draws them. That sounds pretty good. That took, like, a really long time. I got a little lost in the weeds the second I brought up Better Call Saul, and then we had TV talk, which is great because I could talk about TV for hours, but that did take a while to solve. Letters, quick, go get a snack. I'll probably be doing a puzzle in like 3 minutes. The story is usually in very short bursts. You found it! Now we can finally decrypt that radio message. Not quite. We still need the decryption key.
My analysis indicates we're looking for a key pair of two 12-bit integers.
Buy me dinner first, Scout. Two numbers? Can't you just guess? Can't you just guess two numbers out of all possible numbers, idiot? Did you try just knowing the correct combination, fool?
There are 16.7 billion possible combinations. At a rate of 2 per second, it would take me approximately 197 days to guess the correct key pair.
So, you're saying we can't find out what this code says until next spring? So much for moving fast against the Kinos. Hey, wait a second, what about that clapperboard?
Scene 448, take 2 EA, 448 and 746. Yes, that could be the key pair. I can attempt decoding immediately, although I will need access to the yacht radio to replay the recording.
Wait, would he? I guess he can't input to himself? I feel like you could draw some unsavory conclusion about that. Whatever, it's fine.
Don't you have a speaker? Of course, that's how you hear my voice, but decoding without the original hardware could introduce errors. It's really quite fascinating. You see, minor variants in the playback matrix could result in unanticipated...
Look, I'm not gonna pretend to care about that. Let's get back to the boat and do the thing.
That will also work.
See you, Justin. Hopefully we see you again soon. As a reminder, we're gonna be playing some Disco Elysium tomorrow. Where did we leave off? Why can I not remember all of a sudden? I don't know, we're gonna do something. We're obviously just gonna be looking for, like, a whole bunch of money. Oh, that's it. We're looking for the fridge. Because we want to see if we can, like, solve the crime by thinking real hard about the body. I imagine I'm gonna waste, like, 2 hours on that, and there won't be any TV talk involved in the delay. I never thought we'd be back on this boat immediately.
I've entered the decryption key into the police decoder. No errors so far. Beginning playback. Compensating for ambient noise, adjusting frequency thresholds. Dinotherms connected. Reticulating splines. I have it. The decrypted message is ELM.
Thanks. Is that it? I don't understand.
Elm, a tree of the genus Ulmus, often cultivated for its attractive foliage, but also known for its use in shipbuilding.
Okay, but why would someone go through the trouble of encrypting the name of a tree? What happened? The scene, like, faded to nothing, and then she was like, no, wait, don't end the scene! I think I get it! I think I know why someone transmitted Elm to the anemone. It had to be something innocuous but distinctive, something the police would never understand, but someone on this boat would recognize. The poison for Cusco. Cusco's poison. The poison chosen specifically to kill Cusco. That poison. I mean, of these three, it feels most like it would refer to E. Iron's films. It kind of also explains why they seem to be in the general vicinity of the radio, arguably. I don't know why it would refer to the captain guy. I don't immediately know why it would be the diamond. So the third one. Helm refers to one of E. Iron's films. Got the answer right there on one of these reels.
You're right. One of these movies we found is called The Elm of Scotswood.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
Could the signal be referring to that?
I don't know. Hey, continue. Thank you for the 69-month resub. Nice. Nice. Sagulus says, fun fact about that. The Emperor's New Groove and Joe Dirt are the only David Spade movies I like. Generally, I do like him. That's interesting. There are definitely people like that for me as well. Examples don't come immediately to mind, but people who I generally like, but find that I don't like a lot of the things they're in. I generally don't like him. That's also pretty fair. I think David Spade's, pretty polarizing in that way. I'll say this. I'm not, a huge David Spade fan. I like Emperor's New Groove. I like the old 90s sitcom Just Shoot Me that he was on. I did once see him do stand-up, and he was actually really good, which I hadn't expected. Makes sense, doesn't it? And it all but confirms the transmission was intended for the keynotes.
But we still don't know what it signifies. Is it a signal? Are we supposed to watch the movie?
Maybe, but we're missing one thing.
The projector.
I was gonna say popcorn.
I could scan the film with my camera frame by frame and look for anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I mean, my immediate guess would be that, like, maybe something is imprinted on the film itself as, like, a secret microfiche-style message.
One of E. Iron's films? You'll be here all week. I'll do my best. Initiating scan!
Oh, apparently puzzle start. Alright, letters, you probably can't hear me, but it's safe again. Second says I follow one of the writers of Just Shoot Me on TikTok. That's very specific. Does that have anything to do with the show Just Shoot Me, or is that just a coincidence? I watch, like, a lot of things. I'm not much of a reader. And I know it makes me sound dumb, and generally I'll cop to being pretty stupid. But, like, honestly, the main reason is just because I am, like, a really slow, high, like, retention reader. Which is, like, great for, like, studying for tests, and, like, is extremely hideous for, like, casually enjoying a book. It's, like, really bad. So, like, takes me forever, and I just don't typically like the experience. So, like, I watch a lot of shows and movies and stuff, which is why I can go easily for, like, an hour on TV Talk. Just rapid fire. And then, like, books, I just start sweating. But I've watched enough things that, like, a lot of shows and movies have, like, boiled down to, like, some main idea or joke or reference that I remember. And I remember, like, 3 episodes of Just Shoot Me, roughly speaking. One of my favorites is, like, there's an episode where, like, one of the characters is, like, supposed to be dating, just, like, this really stupid guy. He's, like, really nice, but, like, everyone's giving her a hard time because he's just not very bright. And, like, at first she's, like, totally, like, resistant. She's like, no, like, there's no reason to, like, think less of him just because he's not the smartest guy. Like, he's really nice. And then, like, for some reason it becomes this huge breaking point that he just insists on saying jacket coat. He could say jacket or coat, but anytime he would say either, he would just be like, oh, let me just grab my jacket coat. And then she's just like, I cannot do this anymore. And it's just like a really stupid thing, but every now and then I just think to myself, jacket coat. Welcome back, letters. You adeptly missed any spoilers, and now we're doing a puzzle again. I haven't really looked at it because I started talking about TV again. For, like, no reason at all. This looks like a really hard puzzle. There are, like, no big numbers. There aren't as many, like, ones, but there are, like, no big numbers. Woof. Hmm. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. I think this is a full row. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. Yeah. Okay, that's a full. That's a full one. Nothing's jumping out at me as, like, I can narrow that down just with that one column. 13, no. 5, 6, 7, 14. No, but I could probably get some overlap out of this one. 1, 2, 3, space, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3. Or, like, 2, 3, space, 1, space, 1, space, 1, 2, space, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that should all work. According to this row, if this space is filled in and I have an endpoint, then it has to be a group of 2 that would extend exactly that far. Also, this should be a group of 2, probably. like, this can't be the group of 6 in the middle, because only 5 spaces can fit here, and then it would be at the far side. So, like, that has to be 2, and then the rest of those are blank. Like, that just has to be what that is. And then this can't be filled in, because in its row, the bottom group is 5, and the same is true here, where the bottom group is 3, which would not fit in the given space. And then if we look at the row, the rightmost group is 2, so that isn't it. And then, if we look at what remains, I can't fit a whole group of 2 here. It would become a group of 3. So, like, this space could be blank. But I don't think it strictly tells me if the middle one is filled in. No, it doesn't. But basically, knowing that this has to be part of the group of 2 means it can't reach to there. Which then lets me conclude that this is its own group of 1. And I can't conclude anything about the row, because I can put a group of 2 to the right, or this could be the 2, and I could put 5 over there. Three, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I mean, I should be able to get something, right? Hey, let me do that trick from before. I feel like that was a smart idea. Let's pop in that purple so I know that one was, like, definitely filled in before. And then let's do the extreme parameters and see what overlaps. So 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, space 1, space 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, space 1, but that can't really work. Space 1. Huh. No, this kind of just has to work this way, right? There's some flexibility where that 3 goes, but everything to the left of that has to be exactly how it looks. Because if I push the 4 over, it overlaps with this. And there wouldn't be any way to, like, move this. Like, this space is supposed to be filled in, so I can't just move it because I feel like it. And that would be, like, the only way to fit. Yeah. This should be true. Like, in order for this to be the 1, which I think it has to be, then the group of 3 and 4 have to go exactly like that. That should be right. Yeah, I guess I'm looking for big groups. Zacchaeus has finally found my favorite wine again after not being able to find it for 2 years. Need to go lie down. Well, thanks for stopping by, Zacchaeus. It's been a treat having you, and I'm glad you were able to find your treats. But, like, if you could stop by on a Saturday sometime and you're still listening, you should definitely check out Disco Elysium. I'm really bad at it. Mostly because it involves variants of any kind. Now that I put this blank in place, I think that tells me, like, the group of 2 has to go here. And as a result, the group of 3 has to reach to the top. Because, like, the alternative would be, like, what? Would be, like... No, the only other way to do it would be for that to be a group of 1, which doesn't make any sense, because I would need, like, 7 spaces above it. So, yeah, that should be right. And this top row has only groups of 2, and now I know the top position, so that counts down as my top group of 2, knowing every space above it. Now we know... Huh. We know that this is part of the group of 4. And that leaves only, like, 2 positions the 1 could be in, but I don't know which is which. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13. It's a lot of, like, 13s here. think I get the gist of what we're going for. It's like a little bit of variance, and I'm supposed to like sort out what can actually go where. Let's check something. This should be big enough that I get some overlap, probably. 3 space 1 space 1 2 3 space 1 2 3. Alternatively, we start at the bottom, which should be plausible. It'd be 1 2 3 space 1 2 3 space, and then like this is really just the one way this works. Now there is another column. There's roughly the same groupings in it. It's also 3 groups of 3 and a 1. But it doesn't have the same amount of starting information in it. Not sure if I could do quite the same thing there. I guess looking at this row, again, there's only groups of 2, so having an endpoint and a filled-in space, I kind of know how that goes. If we look at this column, we now know that like this top space can't be its own group of 1, which makes this first filled-in space group of 1, which I guess gives us the parameters of that group of 4, which is a little interesting, but not actually that helpful, I don't think. And then there's no way for this to be my group of 2, because I would need 6, 7, 8, like 9 spaces to the right of these X's in order for this to be a group of 2. So that means that now that I have more than one space in a row, it's not my groups of 1, so it has to be my 4. So somewhere over here there's a 2, but because I also have only 3 spaces to fill in those 2 1s, it should go like that, because I need the middle one to separate them. Gotta keep them separated. Okay. So it wouldn't be possible to have my groups of 2, 4, and 3 to the left of these X's. So this kind of has to be my group of 3. And then the only way to reconcile that is for this last space to be filled in also. There's no way to fit spaces necessary to have a group of 1 and 2 above this in order for this to be part of my group of 5. So instead, that should mean that it is the group of 2 that I'm missing. So one of these is filled in, and then how many spaces total is this? This is 8. So 5 of the 8 are filled in out of the available spaces, which gives me a couple of spaces on the wall to count over these groups. What's happening here? This column is busy and confused. Okay, hang on. So now this is a group of 2. There's only 2 groups larger than 1. This isn't the bottom group, so it has to be exactly 2, which then means the one space above it should also be filled in. And then by nature of the fact that that top row has only groups of 2, it is solved. And then we can count down this top group of 3, and also this is the blank space I was missing, which apparently finishes this row as well. But not the way I would have expected this to look. By which I mostly mean I didn't think I'd have these rows with only 2s in them solved relatively early. Okay, looking at this column, got our group of 3. This obviously has to be part of our group of 2. But it's not actually possible for it to go down because that makes another group of 3, which defies the information given. So the space below has to be blank to keep them separated, and then make a group of 2 there. Which then tells us this is a group of 1, and this last space is filled in, so that column is done. Let's look at this other one we did some work on. We've got 1, 2. The next group down is a 1. The next group down is a 1. And then I need a group of 3, so that just fills in all those spaces. Now we know that this is our rightmost group of 2 for that row. which is cool. It also, though, means that this is a group of 5 that we got a start point for, so it goes to there. Post off some spaces here, so the overlap extends up here. Yep, that looks good. Be sure I know where this is going. Let's not jump to any conclusions. So this is sort of open-ended right now. We've got a group of 2, and then this is our next filled-in space, so that should be a group of 1. So then that also means this is a finished group of 3 there. Anything else I can determine by looking at this? Well, I need another group of 2 in this column, and there's only 2 unaccounted for spaces right next to each other. And then this is one of those cases where it looks like I should fill both of these, but that's not true, right? Oh, is it? Hang on. 2, 1, 2. 1, 1, 1. Oh no, that is all of those should be filled in. Great. Okay. So then I got 2 spaces here towards the right side. The only things that aren't groups of 1 are groups of 4. So that should count like that. And then that means this space at the right that's left open should be filled. That completes our group of 5 up there, finishes this row. And this is finished. Hang on, we've finished this group of 3. Alright, so we can close that off on either side. Now we know that this is the rightmost group of 2 for the bottom row. I should probably also 2, 3, 4. Basically, we go like that, or it could be like this space is filled, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's some overlap there. You can count all of those up as groups of 2 from the bottom. Air conditioner is having a particularly loud fit right now, as it's wont to do. I think that's even picking up on the mic, which is a bad sign. But, so if we look at this row down here that I just filled a bunch of spaces in, still need to account for a group of 2 and a group of 6. This should be part of my group of 6. Here, I have more than 2 spaces together. By their powers combined, group of 6, and then the last 2 spaces are filled. Correct. Let's see. I have 2 spaces together, and I'm only missing groups of 2 from this column. And I guess the fact that I'm only missing groups of 2 should tell me that this is a group of 2, and this is a group of 2. And then I have 2 spaces that are left unaccounted for, and I need a group of 2, so also both filled in. Much like this row down here with the 6, got some of this stuff on the edge, got a group of 1 filled in, have spaces leading up to an open space that's not a finished group yet, and I have 3 spaces together by their powers combined. Captain Planet, i.e. a group of 5. Which makes sense, because there's obviously 5 elemental rings. I don't need to tell you that. Hang on. Got an open space here. We can count that as the start of our next group over in this row, which is 4. And then that leaves 3 spaces, of which 2 should be filled in, so I guess I'm overlapped there. Similar principle here. We got the wall from the right up till this point. This should be our second group. Needs to be 3. Leaves us with another open space after we do that math. So we count that over as a group of 2. And then we need a group of 3 out of these 5 to be filled in, which is enough to tell us the middle one definitely has to be filled in. If we go look at this column here, we're looking for 3 groups of 3 and a group of 1. Top group of 3 can't go here, that's a group of 5. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a 3, so it has to go here. This has to separate, and then that has to be filled. And then I need both a group of 1 and a group of 3. only way to do that with what's left is for this to be blank, this filled in, and the group of 3 to go all the way to the bottom. That finishes that whole column. It also marks the end of that group of 4 for that bottom row. I don't know if we look at this row a little ways up. I still need 2 spaces out of 3 filled in, just not right next to each other. So, space blank space is how that should work. That gives me what looks like the bottom group for this column. Oh, interesting. Spaces I have filled in up here, there's more than one of them together. The middle group here should be 1. So that tells me this should be 1 space filled in, separated as its own group, and then the 4 counts up from that as the bottom. If we look at this row... Okay, we can use the column to root this out. I was like, I'm pretty sure this can't be filled. So we have a 3 and a 1 and another space. Just doesn't work out. But if we look at the column, we've also finished everything the column needs, so it should be blank. That means that we have everything from the right up to the start of this group of 3. So then that just leaves one of those 2 to be filled. This is looking a little messy. If we look at this row here, I still got myself a group of 5 to sort out. I guess I know, because there's only 1 missing space in this column, that should be filled in. It finishes that group of 3 and starts a group of 5 here. And then again, one of these will be filled in. So for the best. I've got ourselves a situation much like up here. We have a central space out of 5, where I'm missing a group of 3. There's no way for this space to be filled in, which then confirms for the column that this should be my second to bottom group of 2, and then everything else should be groups of 1. Filling that in also finishes this row. Okay, so if we look at this column, we have only, like, alternating space blank space. The top and bottom of what are missing need to be groups of 2. If we fill those in and blank the rest, it should account for what's missing. If we go down to this row, we now have context that should finish our group of 4 that we're missing. And then that's the last group on the left. And then we can do some maintenance in this bottom corner. This now becomes the bottom group of 3 for the column, and this should be filled in as the bottom group of 2 for the second column over. So now we've got... we're at a 7. Yeah, no, I guess that's the maximum overlap I get until I figure something else out. Looking at this row... only thing to solve for is a group of 3. So, like, only got really one area where that can go. These middle 2 have to be filled in, and 1 on either side. Now, if we look at this column, this space has to be filled in, because the one next to it is filled in, and I'm only missing a group of 2. I guess this row is also finished. Looks like that is the case. So now I have significantly fewer spaces for the 4 to show up in the leftmost column. Can count that off. So our leftmost group finishes that row. This row is also finished by filling that space in, as is this. Now if we look at this row, we need to find room for a group of 1, a group of 2, and there's only one way to do that. Now we finish the leftmost column. We're looking at a tire track? I mean, I know we're really close to the end of it now. Should have stopped to consider earlier, per my musing I mentioned previously, but it looks very... No, I guess it's supposed to be just like a piece of film with the little boxed edges that have some technical name I should know but don't. I think all the remaining spaces are filled in, right? I need one for here, I need a group of 2 for the column, and a group of 3 for the row. It's a film cell with a big red circle on it with our incriminating smuggling evidence. You know, honestly, it felt like we were moving really slow through the ranks for a long time. I don't think I feel as though I'm C rank close to finishing this.
I found something. Look at this photograph. Every time I do, it makes me laugh, even though it is visible for only a fraction of a second, by nature of motion pictures.
It looks like it's part of the credits. Someone circled one of the names. A. Art Jansen. Could someone just have a normal name? Who picks the people?
A new suspect?
Maybe. Whoever they are, they're involved. Or they're an alias. What's that name that people use when they decide that they don't actually want to be credited when the work is complete? It's like Alan something? Like Alan Smithy? Is that right? There's some, like, established precedent in film where, like, if you work on a... Alan Smithy, thank you, Angel. That, like, if you, like, finish a project and you, like, don't really want to be associated with it, then, like, you get yourself credited as Alan Smithy. It says, out of curiosity, any idea how much longer the game is? Seems like you've been playing forever. Agreed and no in reverse order, even though one of those wasn't a question. I mean, let's look at it this way. We've been working on this case for 5 or 6 streams, I think. C rank means we've got about half to go. The only variable beyond that is, like, how long individual puzzles take and how long the plot scenes last. So, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 more streams or something would be my guess. It's an estimate, but that's my best idea.
Just say nothing or you'll end up in handcuffs again. Like the anemone, I too must return to the dock. Not if you do as I say. Why are you making this so difficult?
Is there a problem, Ray?
No, I'm just conferring with my clients.
I guess you two have a lot to talk about. There's quite a case building against you.
I really hoped you would be different. I thought you, of all people, might rise above the level of lies and scandal. It seems I was wrong.
We're just trying to get to the bottom of things here. If you're innocent, you...
Don't patronize me. The innocent have nothing to fear is the rallying cry of the tyrant. We'll have our day in court, Ms. Rahi. Then we'll see who has nothing to be afraid of. We'll also see who gets the last laugh.
It's time for immediately another puzzle. But let's save, because it's been like 1,000 hours. Oh. It's chair. Puzzle is chair. Numbers. 11, I'll get something out of this. 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, etc. 1, 1, 2, and then 1, 2. Variable of 2. That alone, actually, is enough to give me a few spaces up here. The bottom group for these 3 consecutive columns is 4, meaning that these spaces I'm highlighting in this row have to be part of those groups, but the overlap principle says that they need to count up to at least a height of 4. Because they can reach to the bottom, but they could also reach upward anyway. Claire says, I missed the beginning of this game. What is Scout's backstory? It's not given in a great deal of depth, but what we know about Scout is basically this. At the start of the game, he sort of rebooted himself in the garbage of some scientific facility. And then he saw, like, a billboard advertising a, like, detective TV show that our protagonist, Honor, was, like, a co-star in. And he thought she was, like, a real detective who could help him, like, figure out why he had lost his memory and, like, what his purpose was and whatever. And, not long after, like, Honor was implicated in the murder of her boss, and so, like, she had to play detective to sort of not go to jail. And in the process of trying to clear her name, Scout sort of figured out that he is able to scan things and pick out clues and draw conclusions and stuff like that. But, like, still doesn't really know why he was created or whatever. At the end of the last case, he learned that the reason he lost his memory was because he had removed it himself. And as a result, he did that as a result of learning something about himself that he wanted to forget. Basically, like, they had started experimenting with him to weaponize him, and he had accidentally been responsible for someone's death, and he tried to shut himself down because he thought he was dangerous and removed the memory so he could cope, but neither really took, and now we're trying to help him out, but mostly we're just solving mysteries by looking at diagrams. So this is a really weird looking row up here, this thing I just created. This kind of has to be our rightmost group of 5. Like, I can't fit a group of 5 to the right of it. There's only 4 open spaces. It's just not possible. It could feasibly, like, reach to here. That would be a total of 5 spaces. There's no way to reach all the way over to here. But, like, if we consider... I mean, basically, there's, like, not a lot... Either, like, that could be our group of 5... and that's our group of 3. Or, like, these two make our group of 5, and then I think I have an overlap of this space, which isn't meaningful, probably. At least not yet. $10, 13? I should be able to get something out of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1. Or start at the far edge. 1. Be 1, 2, 3. Space. 1. Space. 1, 2. 3, 4, 5. It's a little sketchy. I don't think I actually know that these are overlapped. This might be potential overlap. The 3 might be large enough. I don't think that other space is valid. Hang on. I filled in some more spaces here. Did I? Must have. Whatever. Somehow I've missed the fact that this should also count up to the 4th space. Based on the same information as before, like, it has to be part of the bottommost group because there's not enough space for a 4 below it. And it has to reach up to at least 4. Because it can either count up from the space I already know about, or it can reach to the bottom, but either way, those spaces will both be covered. What's it say? 9, 10, I think this group set small 12 is not going to give me very much overlap for this column. Yeah, it's a lot of that. There's a lot of like similar looking rows and columns that like I just don't think give me that much. It's 12 with a 5 in it. I think I can get something from this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, space, 1, 2, etc. 1, space, 1, 2, space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. That should be the sum total of actual overlap that I know. It's not particularly useful in that, I mean, I kind of already knew that they were part of the group before and all that. Doesn't really implicate these ones next to them as being the same. Those 4s could go up where these go down. Yeah, this should be overlap. I don't think it does anything for me, but with a little more data, I'm even more convinced that's true. It's interesting that we've sort of reached a point in the difficulty curve of these puzzles that, like, it's not all about, like, single groups anymore. I mean, it's like a really easy way to make something super difficult. It's interesting that I look at this and feel like I possibly know even less than a lot of those puzzles that are like half groups of one. There are things about rows that have lots of groups of one that are actually kind of helpful. Mainly that, like, once you have a space filled in, if the whole group, if the whole row or column is only ones, then each individual space you fill in has blanks on either side. So even just like making groups of 2 can in some ways like add difficulty. Full purple. I just don't think you get any meaningful overlap out of this, but there's enough of these that I'm just gonna check this. Etc. Meaning the one could go anywhere. Or the other extreme version is like 1 space 1, 2, 3 space 1 space 1, 2 space. Yeah, this is just nothing. I'm just pretty sure you need a little more context than what is given. I mean, those are pretty close. There's something like 12 out of 15, but at the same time, when the largest group is 3, there's just too many variables to, like, conclude much. It's interesting. Like, there's sort of medium-sized groups for the first time in a while, but like there's few enough of them. Seems to be more the trick, that like it's harder to get a grasp on where stuff goes. It's interesting. I find this to be a really interesting puzzle at this moment. And it's not to say it won't become a pretty frustrating one, but I don't think it will be. I'll just stare at it for a really long time. Just because I'm low on ideas. Is 5 with like small groups on either side enough context to like get any overlap with 5? I think no, right? 3. Shut up. 4, 5, space 1, 2, or like 1, 2, space 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, it is exactly not. Very good. Also, it is exactly not very good. Sometimes intonation doesn't matter all that much. Yep, not enough to go on there. Guess by the same virtue that this column doesn't give me any overlap, I don't get any from this bottom row. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This has like one additional space filled in from the one above. I think I manually checked that. I don't think I checked this. Off the top of my head, I feel like at most I get one overlap, and I'm not sure how useful that is. Or it would be 2, space 1, space 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's my overlap. My one point of overlap is that square, right in the middle. What does that tell me? Well, there's exactly 4 squares between it and a space down here that necessarily has to be part of the bottom group. Which means that I can't fit the 5 total spaces necessary between the two for there to be a separate group of 3, which in turn tells me that this is part of the middle group of 3. Now the question is, does that matter at all? I think the answer is no. I don't know what I would do with that information, but I have it. Yeah, it's a tricky one. 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. I should be able to do something with 4, 1, 1, 4. Space 1, 1, space 1, 2, 3, 4. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, space 1, space 1, space 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. So this row has only, or this column rather, has only one group larger than 1. And this is clearly part of it, because these spaces are touching each other. What can't be true is that since that group of 4 is the top group, anything more than 2 spaces from the 2 I've already established can't be filled in. For both of these top rows, I know the leftmost group is 3, which can't fit in just 2 spaces, so those all have to be blank. Over here, I mean, this has to be part of the top group of 5 because there's no way. There's no way. I think that's really all I know for now. This, on the other hand, I don't think I know that much about. Could be top, I think, or it could be middle. It could be like 1, 2, and like a 3, and then a 2 at the bottom. Like, that's pretty inconclusive. It's gonna be like one of those like domino styles ones where like it's gonna take a lot to get going, but then like once we start filling it in, I feel like a lot is gonna fall into place really quickly. It's not a helpful conclusion to draw. 2, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 3. There's not very many. I mean, I guess we have 4 and 5 out of 13. So that's like 10 out of 13. That's probably worth something. Now that I've blocked that out. Hey, Neko, welcome to the stream. How's it going? So that's the topmost version. Bottommost version would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Space. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Okay, but now this has to be part of the leftmost group, which makes it 5, which ends that group there. This has to be part of the topmost group of 4. I don't think that does anything for me. I guess it is the case that I can't fit another group of 4 above this, so this space has to be part of the top group of 4, so then again, like, that can't reach to there as 4, as a single group of 4. Oh, I have some wall groups down here. There's just ones on the left. It's not nothing. It's not great. 1, 2, 3, 4. Space 1. Yeah, unfortunately, there's enough space I can't like conclude the 2 has to definitely go down there or something. You've been sleeping? I hope you're getting some good sleep, Neko. Sleep is not always good sleep, but it can be, and when it is, it's good. I know, it's a very helpful observation. I'm full of them, if you've been watching me try to do this puzzle. Just lots of super good revelations. let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's no way for any of these to be part of the group of 5. Because the topmost group has to be 1. And that has to go above this X. Since otherwise I'd have to fill all of these for a group of 5 that isn't the top. So then that tells me that out of 9 spaces, it has to be a group of 5 and 2. That's pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Space 1, 2. Or like 1, 2, space 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Tells me surprisingly little, actually, in reality. There's like a lot of things in like the intersection of this area with like a little more information I could start doing things. Like, because there's such a mix of groups of like 1 and 2 and 3, I don't immediately know. I don't think that with like 2 spaces filled in the middle of this, I can rule what groups those are supposed to be part of. This row is only missing groups of 2, but I don't have any like parameters to tell me which direction to go. This could essentially be anything with groups that small. Same here. Anything for this row, which I would like to have, but I do not have. Yeah, I hear your air conditioner. I'm struggling too. If only my brain would make those air conditioner struggling sounds when I was struggling to think about something. Then everyone would know my shame. 1, 3, 1 out of 9. That's 1, 2, 3, 7. 7 of 9. Is that enough to get overlap out of the 3? 1, 2, 3, 1. 1 space 1, 2, 3 space. That's 7. Okay, so that should be overlap of my group of 3. And since it's my top group of 4, this is too far away to be part of the same group of 4 as this. So this has to be the other group of 4. And that means it also can't reach top square. Which isn't that helpful. Then you can blame it on the air conditioner. You know what? That's so true, Neko. That's a really good point. I don't know if people would fall for it, but, like, it would be a reasonable argument to make. I got nothing for that right column. That's a non-starter. No. It's probably not getting me anywhere by itself. This might be the hardest one yet. This is more difficult than I might have expected. At first glance. The prevalence of like slightly larger groups felt like it would naturally be a little easier, but that does not appear to be the case. Hang on a second. So this has got to be part of my bottom group of 3 for this column, but it also can't reach all the way to the bottom square. Does that tell me anything? Certainly the group of 5 isn't over here. So then I need the group of 5 and 2 in these 10 squares. I should get something out of that. It's either all of these and then like that, or 1, 2, space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So that being true, I now know that this is bottom group of 3, bottom group of 4, bottom group of 4, in their exact positions. This has to be my 5, so then this last space gets filled in. There's also no way to have a group of 2 below this, which would otherwise enable this to potentially be the middle group of 3, but as that stands, it has to be the bottom group of 2. So then, like, that has to be blanked out, can't fill anything below the bottom group, and then it has to be separated from the group above it. This is 6 out of 8, so it's 3 out of 5. This is 5 out of an undetermined number that really could go in either direction. Probably. Welcome back, Demolition. As you can see, I've made negligible progress. 1, 3. Last 2 on the bottom. I guess that's true. I was looking at it like it could still be these, but it can't really. Also, please no help. The literal last 2. What? It's these. It's these because the group of 5 has to go in the middle, and there's not space for the 2 to go there. This is like the exact configuration the bottom right corner had in the last puzzle. Surprisingly unhelpful. Does finish this whole thing. It could be filled in. No help here. Couldn't do that before. 1, 2, 1 out of 9. That's nothing. About 3 and 3 out of 9. Is that something? 1, 2, 3 space 1, 2, 3. Or 1, 2, 3 space 1, 2. No, that's somehow is like scientifically literally nothing, which is mildly annoying. 4. No real information there. 2. Oh, I'm only missing groups of 2, so that's blank for the row. Mostly everything else is still at least technically eligible to be filled in, if not probable to be filled in. 2, 1. Yeah, it's not a lot like doing anything. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 spaces accounted for out of 15. I still don't think that's enough with a group this small. One more and I'd feel pretty good about it. I mean, I guess I could just try and manually do it, but I don't think that works. Just have to purple the whole row. 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, whatever. 1, 1, space, 1, 2, 3. Guess I get that one? I guess I get middle from 3? Everything else is still pretty wobbly. So, like, that's cool. I mean, that's actually kind of useful. It tells me that these are obviously part of the group of 3, and that, like, these spaces both have to be blank. Unfortunately, that doesn't actually change the math on anything, does it? Oh, wait, does it? I need 3 groups of 2 for this row. I think now that there's only one configuration that works. Yeah, I think that's the only way. So what does that do? Well, this is my bottom group of 4 that can't reach here. And I guess the same is true here. So then the 5 goes this way. This is bottom group of 1. So that makes this group of 5. And that sort of reflexively tells me where the end of those groups of 4 go. Get no additional overlap from narrowing that down at all. Demolition asks, how's LA doing in terms of weather lately? Out of the atmospheric river drowning phase? I don't know, man. It was unlikely that that would be what it was for so long. So, like, as far as I know, it's not on the horizon for that to start again. We're definitely in, like, pre-summer, which is, like, some days it is eligible to be as warm as summer, but it is not necessarily summer temperature all the time. It's been consistently warm enough to need air conditioners. Now, maybe needs a strong word. It is extremely bad to not have air conditioners. That might even be overstating it, frankly, but it's warm enough you really want it. I had a space filled in. If you counted over, it was the group of 2 I needed. I mean, it's fine in the sense that, like, I have air conditioners. I just got a new one to replace the one that died in my bedroom, and the new one is definitely better than the old one. This one's not great, and it still leaks outside, and suddenly my landlady cares about it, which remains to be seen whether that's good or bad. Like, that could ultimately be more trouble than it's worth, or whatever. This is my bottom group of 3. That's cool. That's 6 of them? Now hang on. If this is 6 spaces and it can only go 1 here, then this has to be overlap, right? It at minimum would have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that being true, this space can't be filled in because that makes a group of 9. So then instead, that fills in like that, and that's a group of 2. Still nothing here. Between June to August, what time would be best? I mean, like, so you're coming from Chicago, and Chicago's cold, like, quite cold, a decent amount of the time. What kind of temperature experience do you want from LA? August tends to be the start of the real bad times in terms of heat, where, like, even with the air conditioner is kind of bad. I think... personally, I would say, like, June is typically, mind you, because it's been a weird weather year by a lot. I'd say June is typically your best weather for the year out here. For, like, a normal person. I kind of prefer the pretend winter times, where it's, like, it gets up to, like, 60s most days, and not ever to exceed that. But, like, yeah, July is, like, pretty... typically... reasonably warm. August gets unreasonably warm a lot of the time. Don't come in September. I know that wasn't on your list, but don't do it. I've got a start point here, so that's group of 3. This is 5, and that's as much information as I have right now. And 3, 1 and 2 and 1. 2 and 1 with slightly fewer spaces. Multiple groups of 2 out of many spaces. 1, 2, 1, 3, This is nothing and will never be anything. Oh, hang on. If this space is filled, that means that's the group of 3. So I guess I know that in both of these columns, there's only one group bigger than 1. And in neither of these cases could that established group touch these. So that means that these have to be groups of 1. Okay. This feels like it's the group of 2, but I don't know that. Migrate somewhere nice and cold. I mean, I just want... I mean, I think, like, ideal circumstance for me, and I don't even know what place this is or what it looks like. I'd like to live a place that has, like, a mild, like, rainy season, not usually snow, and the summers are not super intense. But, like, even if that place existed, climate change has definitely affected lots of places in lots of ways, whether people like to accept it or not. Constantly breaking weather records and, like, weird weather occurrences happening out of season and stuff. Like, it's a real crapshoot out here. And out here, I just mean, like, in the world at large. Still want to make, like, erroneous conclusions about, for example, where this group of 2 goes. Can't do it. Really want to. None of this has changed. Nothing useful to do here. Oh, this is done, I guess. Does it do anything for me? Pretty sure it doesn't. You want the UK, we don't get extreme lows or highs. Now see, that sounds great in theory, but I think sometime last year, I was watching some British streamers playing through a Pokemon playthrough, and for months of real time, they were complaining about how miserable and hot and humid the summer was, and also that, like, air conditioning isn't a thing in most places in the UK, so, like, I would be puddle. And that's not to disparage the UK, it's just, like, that's the climate change thing I'm talking about, right? Like, that probably isn't supposed to happen, but, like, you just can't count on anything. There's, like, no safe place to be. And that's true in general, because there's always, like, every place in the world has its own, like, natural disaster threat and, like, weather phenomenon threat. You know, like, LA has earthquakes. There's places in the US that have, like, tornadoes and hurricanes and floods and blizzards and things. Like, there's something everywhere. Puzzle is hard. I don't think I get anything new there. Had the hottest day ever last summer. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Neko's like, just everyone's constantly breaking weather. Like, I don't even know where to go. I don't even know where to go. It's hot. Keep in mind that what's hot to you is below average to us. True, but, like, keep in mind that, like, my acclimation to a warm temperature is, like, this extreme case of living in a big glass coffin with, like, substandard air conditioning I run pretty much all the time outside of the dead of winter. Which isn't, like, literally true. I don't run it, like, overnight. I try to run it as little as I can. Unfortunately, that still ends up being a really high percentage of the time. I kind of feel like I should be able to do something with this corner, but I feel like even if I did, it wouldn't, like, actually help very much. I mean, that could be anything. Could even be a boat. Heck, we could even be on a boat. One out of a huge number. Got that group of 3 in the middle narrowed down, but I don't know how to do anything with it. Hang on. Look at this row. Got this X here now. Kind of relatively just added that. Now that that's there, there's certainly no way to put more than like the group of 2 and 1 in this leftmost area. What would I be able to fit here, like, in theory? Like 1 and 1, 3? Yeah, that looks like that's about the size of it. I feel like the 2 and 1 have to be over here. And this has to be 3 and 1 and 1. Well, like, that being the case, this should be overlap, because it could go to here, or cover these 3. But, like, it has to cover more than that 1 square. I don't think that does anything, though. That's the brutal nature of this particular one. It's like I can do lots of individual deductive reasonings to find, like, individual squares, and then, like, they just don't typically do that much. Stay last year was 102 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, I mean, to be clear, 102 degrees Fahrenheit is also considered extremely warm for here. Even in Los Angeles, like 90s in the summer are like pretty normal for some amount of the time. Most years, there aren't a ton of days that break 100, but we've also been increasing that number, breaking records and whatnot. Climate change. You think that canonically, Scout like immediately solves this puzzle being a computer, and then is just floating there judging us? Do you think that's what's happening? Like, he pretends to get excited, but he's kind of like patronizing us. He's like, oh, great job, human. That only took you like 80 minutes. Stupid meatbag. Definitely missing some kind of thing. Hang on. There's something. No. Nope. Never mind. That's how the number 4 works. 2, 3, 4. I guess it is true that this group of 4 can't reach out there. I don't think that does anything, though. It's just something I should have noted earlier, but doesn't affect anything. I might have conflated it with the 5 and left that there for a minute. Summers get pretty bad when it exceeds 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, I mean, like, without any kind of air conditioning, 77 degrees Fahrenheit would be pretty bad. I think I did it. I think this is just a solved puzzle. Just don't know what that looks like. X is here. I haven't looked at this in a minute. Sort of confused about what we've actually added to the row. Let's just manually check this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Or like 2 space 1 space 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I don't think we've gained any new information. I think this point of overlap is something I figured out before, just from the available information in the row. The only new spot was added by counting up from the bottom, sorting that out. But I don't think I'm any closer to knowing if these two are joined as a group of 3 or are 2 adjacent groups. This is such a small group, this tells me nothing. This is such a large group, I have no additional information. 2 3s out of 9 I determined is nothing. Small enough groups in the next one over that, like, that's just not meaningful. Can't really place the group of 1 out of, like, 5 available spaces. It's also very small groups out of a very large range of possibilities. Same again. It's gotta be something I'm missing. It's not helpful. Man, I am really stuck, huh? I mean, my assumption is that this bottom group of 5 on the leftmost column counts to the bottom. It just strikes me as very odd that I'm missing just one group of 1 from all 3 of those rows. It just feels weird. It's entirely possible that's not it. That's what that feels like. I guess if I was to make that assumption, it would be a relative ease to check some other stuff. Because, like, nothing else down here would be filled. So just ignore and leave that. So then we find ourselves in a position where and this doesn't change much immediately, but like here I need to have like a group of 2 and a group of 4 in a limited space, which would mean like this would be like minimum required overlap for that group of 2 that couldn't go any lower. And then like space 3. And then I think I'd have overlap that looks like that for the 4, just because there are like many, like significantly fewer spaces it could go into. And then this would be overlap for the leftmost group of 3. if you hear, like, another fit from the air conditioner, I'm not entirely clear whether you could clearly tell the earlier ones. You do, it's my brain shutting down. It's right on the verge. So I guess if these purples were all true, it would also mean that this would have to be the start of the group of two, I think? Because I can put a group of two here or here. Both of those would, like, disrupt the sanctity of their individual groups. So then this would have to be the first part of a group of two. So it would have to be, like, blank on either side, which would mean that that would be filled in. And who knows where those ones go. And it's still pretty difficult to narrow down where that top one would be. Looking at this row, this would be an individual group of one, and then that would leave 1, 2, 3, space 1. Yeah, it would only leave one configuration for that to be true. And then it would clear some space from this column, because having even one data point for this group of three out of this big number of available spaces means that I couldn't go any higher than that or lower than that. Guess in theory this would be blocked off too. Which doesn't strictly tell me about this row, but gives me some sense of what that would look like. I feel like to think about this any further, I'd have to start committing to some of these points so that I could block out things that were confirmed not true. Just kind of hoping that I'd find some immediate point that disproved this or something. It's still a pretty big guess and check. I'm just really not seeing the obvious way to move forward on reason alone, which almost certainly exists. But I mean, just looking at that, you get a sense of, like, how relatively little information I need to make progress here. I just don't have it, man. I just don't see it. There's, like, lots of educated guesses I could make, and I just don't see anything that is it. I mean, like, it just doesn't even seem to make any sense to, like, speculate about where groups of two could go. There's just, like, so much space. Is there something to be done with the extremes? 1, 2... Just, like, would have to look like that, or, like, the opposite. Is that something? Like, obviously, one of those two is filled. One of top or bottom is filled, but I think, like, that might have to be true. And technically, Yeah, I actually don't think there's any way for this column to exist without these 3 spaces being filled. Is that remotely true? Could be like top and bottom. So you could do like... No, wait. You could do... Yeah, you could do that, couldn't you? Like 1, 2, 1, 2, 2. So I guess top isn't locked. But like... If that's filled... I think this bottom one has to be true. I'm gonna roll with that, because they ain't got nothing regardless. So when these 3 is filled, that's not super useful. 2 spaces over here are filled. Also, unsurprisingly, not helpful. It doesn't even do anything for me, huh? Not really. It would still be possible to, like, make this a group of 4 space, and then, like, fill in a last group of 1 here, so that still doesn't help me even Xing this box. I already know this is a group of 3. Is there something I should be able to glean from that? Not with that many spaces, I don't think. Man, I just, like, I so don't see it. The groups are just small where they need to be small, and are big in areas large enough that it's not extremely helpful. There are things I know that aren't represented on the board, but that I can't make any clearer without, like, cheating or guessing. There's just so many permutations left, and I don't see what I'm supposed to be able to rule out. Like, they're just, the groups are all such, like, obnoxious sizes. I know I've checked this recently. What do the permutations of the 2-1-3-1-1 look like? I mean, like, there's just 2 open, right? Could be that. Or it could be like that. Or like that. It's still just not narrow enough. The worst stream of all time. They did. Really, really proud of me. Just can't do anything about any of these spaces like I keep wanting to. Or... well, no, I can't do that either. Just don't know, like, this isn't, this is middle enough that it could be either the top or the bottom group, so I can't really draw any realistic conclusions about that. Is that something? I feel like that is. I feel like this is overlap. I guess. Space. Oh, both of those had to be covered regardless, right? So what the heck does that tell me? Not very much. Mostly because there would be room to put an entire group of 3 both above and below it, so I don't even know if it's top or bottom. It's so middle, it ends up being essentially useless information. From what I can tell. When I find those, they're just so useless. It's just like ingeniously crafted to be so obnoxious. I'm not mad. I'm annoyed with myself. I'm very impressed. Thanks. I hate it. Get any additional from that? Now this is what everyone tuned in for, and by that I mean I'm not looking at the viewer count, but I know it's negative numbers. Murder by negative numbers. Like a whole half hour passed like instantly without me solving anything. That's so bad. It's really disheartening. I'm just very personally mad about this space. This space sucks. Mostly just because it was a lot of work to determine that it probably should be here, and it contributed nothing. So, just a real personal grudge thing. Obviously that's what I thought. Wait a minute. Does this mean that there's only... No, the stuff on the right has some variance because... It wouldn't... Hold on. It wouldn't be possible to do, like, this, right? This would be just not enough spaces. And like doing something like this just makes like a group of 4 or something. So then like that has to be true. 1, 2, 3. And then I don't know exactly the rest, but like I think I get some overlap out of this. It's like this, or yeah, like this would be, in theory, that's true too. I think that's true. So then that would mean the 2 filled in spaces in this column are different groups, because joining them would be 4, which is too large for any individual group. Which then also means that anything that is more than 1 space away from the top is not eligible. Which then means that for the top row, where I'm only missing a group of 3, none of those right spaces can be used. I quite have this narrowed down enough to solve that. This should make this overlap, is that correct? Yes, this is now overlapped because of the X up here. Which then makes that the definite position of the group of 3 and tells me where the 1 has to go on the right. Now for that column, anything that's more than 2 spaces away from the thing I filled in is no longer eligible. This now is a group of 2. It just looks like that. It's a smaller area, so I get additional overlap for this group of 3 here. It also solves the rightmost group of 1 for this row. No, that could still be... Oh, that's still fine, which is annoying. One of these 2 is filled in. Don't know, and I probably don't care which. This is now filled in? 5 out of 7? Yeah. Oh, this is part of the rightmost group, so I get additional overlap since the edges come in. It's not happened on the left. That being true, I now know that this can't be part of the group of 4 left in this column. Which I don't think tells me anything in particular. This could be something. This could be 1 or 2. This is not helpful. I don't think we quite have enough here. So hang on. This is my top group. So now 4 of these like 5 spaces have to be filled in. Still don't know where the group of 2 goes. This has to be part of my leftmost group of 3, so it has to necessarily cover this. And it's true that this should adjust how the rest of this looks. Because now that that's true, this can no longer be part of the group of 4, so it has to be its own thing, and that means that's all... That counts down to the bottom. Meaning it is likely, but not proven, that the same is true here. Yes, it is still possible. This will be part of the group of 5, which means I can't automatically join it up here. So can't do that yet. 3, 5. 1 and 2, I was already looking at that, and I don't think anything has changed to clear that up any. These two has to be filled in. Column is otherwise finished. No idea. Oh, hang on. 1, 3, 1 is my next group up. Because this is the middle of the row. Has to be the 3, otherwise it would be the leftmost group of 2. So then, that means that has to be the exact position of that. In turn, I need 2 more groups of 1 to the right of it, so they have to be separated by middle space. This can't be part of this column's group of 3 anymore. The leftmost 2 has to go there. Since all these spaces are joined, that means this can no longer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it becomes like a huge group otherwise. So it can reach as high as this, or 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Be like this, or down to the bottom, but those should be the overlap, and that finishes this. Okay. That tells me that's where the group of 3 goes. So now I need only group of 2 and group of 1 here. I don't think I have enough information to solve that. Oh, third column is solved. That's true. That is true. This is not solved. How are you doing, anime? You missed the extremely long period of me silently staring at the screen on the verge of tears. It's been a long week. How are you doing? This column is missing only groups of 2. Since one of these spaces is filled, so must be the other. Then apparently the one I'm missing is on the left, which means those ones gotta be blank now. Which has reduced potential area to put groups of 3 in this column to the extent that this also can't be anything, and we also know that the above here is the other group of 3. This is bottom group of 3. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it should look like that. With this few spaces, you have some sense of what that looks like. Can't really determine from this whether this is rightmost group of 1 or the end of the group of 3, I don't know. You were here since we found the decoder. I'm so sorry, anime. Especially if I missed a comment earlier, but mostly for you having to endure most of the stream, frankly. This can't be anything, right? Because I already got 4, and I only need 1 more filled in. So then that makes this the rightmost 1, and tells me this is overlap to the group of 3 there, which apparently finishes this column. And this would have to be the topmost 1 for this column. Which then means this isn't anything, and this is exactly that group of 3 there. At the top. We now have some frame of reference for leftmost 3 and rightmost 2 in this row. And part of that also means that these spaces aren't eligible because they're too far away from the 2. Which completes this column, because I now know where that last spot in the 5 is. And it makes this my rightmost group of 2. And I have only 1 space that apparently should be filled in, so we blank that to finish the column. And we filled that to fix that intersection of row and column. Is now narrowed down to the point that I still need 2 groups of 1 in the middle, and there are only 3 spaces that's possible, and the only way that works is if we blank the middle and fill the sides. This is a group of 1, so that fills that. I haven't sorted this yet, but I only need to fill one of those 2 spaces. This is the last space I need here. Has to be adjacent to this, and I already have an endpoint. So that column is done. Fill this group of 2, and the column with the 4 that is gradually filled in. This can't be part of my group of 3. It's too far away, and I don't need any other spaces here. So this is filled to finish the column. This row is done. I don't know what I'm looking at. This could be sprite art for like a Super Nintendo game. Feels like it could be like a Donkey Kong Country style character. That's a little chibi for that. Oh, this group of 4 is done. Still 2 places that group of 2 could go out of sheer force of spite. Although on that subject, this is top group of 4, distinct from bottom group of 5. So, like, none of this, please. Which then in turn means group of 3. This is also filled in, which apparently finishes this column. Oh, this one has to be filled in, so this one can't. So this one has to, which makes 4. So now this is 6 spaces. Should work like that. This row is done. This row needs 2 spaces filled in. Got it. Okay, figured that out. This is my group of 2, which means this is nothing. This is apparently blank. And finish. Oh god. Wow, it looks pretty much exactly like what I thought it did. Although the game calls it Rolodex, and what I see is like a little alligator guy facing to the right, trying to bite down with like 2 little pixel dash eyes. So like you could call that a Rolodex. When you color that in, it still looks like a little tiny Donkey Kong Country gator guy. So tired. Why did anyone watch this? I'm so sorry to everyone.
Honor, this deck of playing cards is all stuck together.
That's a Rolodex scout, or maybe like a tiny alligator facing right. It's probably filled with business cards either way, mostly for lawyers by the looks of it, so it's probably raised.
Ah, a database. There may be a file in here for A. Art Jansen.
It sounded like I flipped through 3 really loud pieces of paper rather than a large number of small cards. Either way, I don't see that name under J or A.
Perhaps they go by another name. We should try to find out.
Based on, like, what information? There's just, that doesn't feel like a helpful observation to me. We're definitely not starting another puzzle. I barely made it out of that last one alive. Exit game. Stop with music. Hey, it's me. I'm very tired. How are you? Oh man, I got really freaked out because like something started blinking in the dashboard, but it was Steam apparently updated while I've been streaming. Shut up, Steam. This is not a good time or place for that. Please don't. A weird thing this morning on my work computer where like I generally try to hold off on doing Windows updates until I have to. Mostly because they're very frequent and disruptive. But like also because sometimes they break stuff. And then when I like turned my work computer on this morning, and I didn't turn it off. I put it on sleep mode, which I normally do during the week. Save a little time getting ready in the morning because I have to log into like 1,000 things. And like just if you're on a Windows computer, there's like the Windows button and it brings like the start menu kind of thing. It was just up forever. No amount of clicking on other stuff would make it not be up. So I had to restart the computer, which forced it to update, and I was not pleased. It's not an interesting story. That's where we're at in the night. There's a Squirtle somewhere on the couch. You can see this guy, so he's not a secret. You should try to find the one that you can't see, and the only way to do that is by guessing. So let me know if you have a guess where that goes, because the stream ends soon. We'll be back for some uh, Disco Elysium tomorrow, and I will possibly be less tired. Possibly. Not saying it's likely. I was slightly less annoyed about the forced update in that situation than I was with the extremely weird bug that I could probably never reproduce. That was probably a function of the computer, like, trying really hard to make me update it in the first place. Feels like we could have just not done that. By the way, if you weren't here earlier, I have to assume they're sold out now because they're so aggressive. People trying to buy Pokemon Squishmallows. But as I noted earlier on the Discord, they restocked them today. Snorlax was already sold out by the time I checked it, but Togepi was still available. I bought one. It'll show up at some point. um, Pikachu friend. Pikachu friend is pretty good. Pikachu friend has brought me a lot of joy in the 6 days that he has been here with me. I have stuff on my head. These headphones are deteriorating somewhat. Let's go see about the Pikachu. No. I don't think you're going to play nice. That's fine. I didn't really set this up that good. So if we look behind Pikachu, yeah, I knew moving that was going to cause Vaporeon problems. You can see that Baymax was there, holding up friend Squirtle, wearing the pirate hat. But, and this is true, if I press this button, and then everyone had guessed Pikachu. Well, if we look behind Pikachu, oh, look at that. There's a Squirtle. I will show you where Squirtle. Yeah, a lot of structural damage. But Naomi was also hanging out with the Squirtle, so like, yeah. Look at all my Pokemon. I beat the Elite Four and like the other like main storyline things in Pokemon Violet this week, which was very exciting for me and also a cause for me not to be terribly productive. But yeah, I really like that game a lot. My sister is streaming it on her channel Sundays starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Although gameplay starts at 10:30 Pacific. I don't know why you would skip the part of the stream with puppetry though. So you could check her out there if you're interested in seeing some of the game. I haven't been streaming it because it took me like 10,000 years to do it, and I've also frankly been trying to finish Murder by Numbers, which maybe someday will happen. But I like the game a lot. She's been, as a UX designer, I think she's been a little more sensitive to some of the game's weaknesses, which, because they're doing a new game system in Scarlet and Violet, the menus did not age super well. By which I mean they restructured a bunch of stuff, and a lot of it doesn't make any sense, and some of the open world stuff is wonky. I think she's mostly having a good time. She has some very valid criticisms of the game. Many of them I completely agree with. But I still think very highly of the game. It's my favorite in a while. I think it points to a positive direction moving forward. I say that as someone who's been really skeptical of the game's moving to open world. So like, yeah, I don't know. Just in a Pokemon mood lately. Anyway, I got an armful of Pokemon, and I gotta do something about it. Which is probably put them down at some point. But before I do that, let me say thanks for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And I hope to see you again soon. Tomorrow we'll be playing Disco Elysium, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific. I don't know. My brain might be working better by then, but also the puzzles in that game aren't as hard. It's more a matter of, should I roll this dice? It turns out I shouldn't have, but I already did. So it'll be a little easier to process. Hope you have a chance to join me for that, but whether I see you then or sometime in the distant future, take care of yourselves and remember that you are Clausen.